This video is a real call with one of my students, and in it, I reveal something that I don't share with anyone else. Can I share something with you, man?
Yeah.
I just had a fucking painful ass trading day. Oh my god. Literally just walked away like an hour ago. But dude, I
What happened?
I was literally one winning trade away from passing some evals. And then right when I entered, price, it was moving in my direction, and then it reversed, and I was like, okay, you know what? That's fair. Price wicks exactly at my stop loss, like the exact tick, and then it reverses and it ends up hitting the profit target. Like, if the entry was just one tick before, I guess, like I literally could have walked away with more evals, but I instead have to trade more. And I was like, holy shit, bro. Like, the amount of pain that I felt today was nuts, bro. Like, I don't even know the odds of that even happening. Like, the odds of being wicked out at the exact tick and then price reversing and then it having to be on the trade, which I'm not gonna say like it mattered, but like, I mean, it's more evals. But anyways, it's not too bad because thankfully the systems that I put in place allowed me to walk away, and I still have my accounts. It's okay. We can trade tomorrow. We're gonna be fine. Every week, I go through my students' trades with him. I see where he hesitated or overtraded and what he'd do differently. So right after I told him about my day, we got into his. So ideally, right, if we were to replay Monday, if you took that first trade and then it hit your stop loss and you started to feel those emotions, so ask yourself, like, what can you do to become that better version of yourself who, after recognizing the emotions, way before it even has a chance to snowball, how can you be able to pull yourself away from the screens?
I think it's just like being more aware, bro. Like after I opened the second trade, bro, my brain was like aware of like what's happening. So I was like, nah, I shouldn't even be doing this. Like in order to like stop that, I could probably like start like genuinely journaling my thoughts while I'm in the trade. So like for example, let's say I just hit TP, right?
Yeah.
On a good trade, I followed all my criteria and I'm writing out my thoughts and I do that over time, then I'm gonna understand how I'm supposed to be thinking after a certain type of trade. And after losing a certain type of trade, how I'm gonna feel. Like it's basically data, bro. And then immediately when I noticed that, I could be like, oh, I should stay away from the market. Because emotions play such a key role in our trading, bro. So if I'm able to like know and like record my thoughts, bro, then I feel like my trading could just overall get better.
It's super cool that you brought that up because you actually already hinted at the next thing that we're going to be doing. All right, so check this out. So 8:53 a.m. is when I entered. So these are like literally my thoughts in real time. Like, I'm just telling myself, you know what? Like, it is what it is. If price hits my profit target, he's my profit target. If it hits my stop loss, it is what it is, right? But pay attention to this paragraph right here. And every time I say clarify intentions, that's me in real time repeating my mantra. But I was like literally saying something like, "Damn, like what the fuck, bro? Like this trade was literally one tick away. Like, are you serious, right?" And I was just saying that like I'm in disbelief. Like, what the heck is happening, right? So, and like it's me like talking with myself, me saying to myself like, you know what? You did the right things. Everything that you're feeling is based on hindsight. The only thing that matters is that you execute your plan, right? Like that's the rational side of me. But you'll also notice, like, literally again in these statements, like, damn, this fucking stings. I can't believe this happened, right? That's my emotional side of me. So, like, in real time, you kind of need both.
And like another thing that I noticed, bro, is that like the way that my brain works, I don't know if yours works the same too, but like when you write something out, bro, you just feel way better.
You know
Don't you?
why? Let's actually let's go through this like scientifically, right? So I read a book based on emotional intelligence, right? And so when we feel an emotion, like, okay, so you feel an emotion. Okay. So what is the best way to not get rid of the emotion, but to mellow it out, right? So it's actually like a 3-step framework. Okay. So step 1, emotion. Do you like I don't know if you studied the root words of like words, but emotion literally means it's the feeling of wanting to act. It's a feeling to move. So what do you have to do? we all know that if you just don't act, like let's say, you don't do anything, does that really settle your emotions? No, because what ends up happening is you end up bottling it all up, right? And then you end up exploding afterwards.
Yeah.
I don't know if you like studied physics, but an emotion is literally energy, right? And there's like that fucking law. It's like super popular, but it's like energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transferred. So when we feel these emotions, so let's say you feel the FOMO, the first thing you need to do is act. I'm going to explain what that is, in real time, but I'm just going to go through the rest of this framework. Okay, so this is 1 and this is 2. Okay. Second thing you have to do is reframe. Or basically you have to inject some sort of logic. And then the third thing you have to do is recenter. Okay, so what does this look like in real time? So when you feel, like let's say the same thing happened to me, right? The exact thing happened over here. I walked away almost with like literally one tick away from more funded accounts. Felt the emotions. So what did I do? I acted. What does it mean to act? You journal. You write out your thoughts. No filter, right? So literally just straight up raw thoughts. Like if you try to even just mentally like censor yourself, like if you're cussing in your head, write that out. Like everything that you're doing, you need the most raw thing possible. Why? Because if you so much as censor yourself even just a little bit, what are you doing? You're stockpiling or you're containing all of that energy, right? So it's going to blow up eventually. So you might as well just get it all out while you can, right? So you journal and then you write out all your thoughts with no filter. So that is the first thing to help dissipate the emotions. Now, I don't know about you, but you know how like if you're arguing with someone and then you try to like let's say they get very emotional or they get really defensive. If you try to like logically argue with them, nothing that you say is going to register to them. The only thing that they're thinking about is how they feel, right? So that's why we act, because the act of writing out your thoughts helps dissipate the emotions. And that's where the second thing comes in, which is you inject logic, right? If you just go straight to injecting logic without actually writing out your thoughts, trust me, like this is not going to work. Like nothing is going to register in your head. You're just only going to feel the emotions, right? So what does it mean to inject logic? Well, it's usually long-term based. So, if we go back over here where I say, okay, so if you read this part right here, okay, so basically the first half is me basically cussing myself out. Well, not myself out, but I was just cussing. That's step 1. I didn't act. And then I reframed it. Look at this right here. All of this is based on hindsight, and in reality, if I didn't execute my plan, but I passed the eval, so meaning that I didn't sell at my stop loss, but I just held it, right, and ended up passing the eval, then I essentially would be reinforcing a habit which will result in more losses, not just financial, but mental. So I'm basically telling myself that if you were to act against your plan, you're only going to create more harm. Now that's a logical thing, right? So, usually, like I said, reframe has something to do with using logic. It's where you kind of start to think to yourself, like, you know what, I took a trade with good expectancy. I backtested the trade. Over the long term, I'm going to be profitable so long as I take the right trades. Those are all logical arguments, right? So that is step 2. Now, step 3 is actually something that we've already kind of been doing before. So now what we're doing is we're basically like tracing through the steps, right? So now let's go over recentering. This is basically just your mantra. And in your mantra, you're talking about, it is like long-term based, but it goes a bit deeper, right? Like if you kind of go into why you're doing what you're doing. So let's say you're in flow state right here, right? If you get emotional, what you basically did is, you're in this state over here. So by recentering, you're basically helping yourself, go back to flow state. Or basically, when I say flow state, I just mean like basically the outcome of short-term uncontrollable things don't matter that much to you anymore. Kind of like what you said, where you took a trade, didn't matter if it hit your profit target, didn't matter if it hit your stop loss. You knew that you're going to be okay. So we use our mantra so that we can get back to flow state. But basically, yeah, this is the process that we're going to set up for what we do when we start to feel emotions. And like one of the key things is when people say feel emotions, they typically think they're just talking about, quote unquote negative emotions like FOMO, desire to just make money now. But it actually is also equally as applicable to, like feelings of happiness, right? Or like ecstaticness, right? And you kind of already understand the dangers of getting too emotionally attached to something and then feeling overly positive. So this is what we're going to do when we feel these emotions for both. So if you are excited over profits that haven't arrived in your account, that's something that I'm fully guilty of. Like I start to think about how much I can make, with like a single winning trade or a single payout, right? When you go through that, this is the same exact process you're going to go through. So you're going to write them out, and then in real time, you're going to practice reframing and then recentering right after. That's basically the process. So now that we have that in place, you saw what it looked like in real time when you're trading, right? But that's also what you're going to do outside of the markets as well. So not only is this for positive and negative emotions, this is for in and out of the charts. So that's the actual system that I used on the exact day that I told you about in the very start. It's not some cleaned up version, it's the actual step-by-step process that you could literally see in real time, and it's what prevented me from ultimately blowing up those accounts. And here's what I want you to take away from this. If you're stuck at break even, you already likely have a good risk management plan in place. You probably already have a strategy that works. It primarily just comes down to your execution. It's those feelings when something very frustrating happens and you want to make back everything that you lost because you just want to prove to yourself that you can get the results right now. It's in that very moment that when something snaps, you end up reverting weeks worth of process and progress in just one single day. So if you're stuck at break even and you want to become profitable, you'll notice that there's this gap in between where you are and where you want to be. And the framework we went over fills in that exact gap. And I know how it feels being so close to having it all figured out and feeling like there's those one or two things which are just stopping you from really actually being able to realize the efforts that you've been putting into this endeavor for years. So if you want me to take a look at your own trading and give you personalized advice that you can start applying today, then that's what the trading audit is for. It's 45 minutes and I'll help diagnose where you're stuck and what can get you to that next level. If you're interested, click the link in the description below.